Say it out loud.
His people and those who believed in God were saved from the floods.
Turn around and speak to the class.
His people and those who believed in God were saved from the floods.
Okay. So his people and those who believed in him were saved from the floods. Okay. So now she knows where that is. Now see, that's this one right here. Go ahead and pick one more card up. Is it an empty card? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Not that card. Go ahead, pick another card up. Nope. Did I leave some empty cards in there? Yeah, sorry. I was trying to just give you short examples. Oh, okay, here we are. Pick a card. Ibrahim alayhi salam. Is it Ibrahim alayhi salam? It's not. So, but now you know where Ibrahim alayhi salam is, and then you know where his people were saved from the flood is. Your turn.
He was willing to sacrifice his son for God.
He was willing to sacrifice his son for God.
You're the mic.
Do you know where? Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah.
Just turn it on.
Okay. So she found the match. Again, a very easy game. Kids have grown up playing this game. You have played this game. But again, it gets the kids moving. It gets them thinking. And I see a lot of creative faces in here. So I bet there are other things you're already doing that are like this. All I want you to do is keep doing them. Don't let anyone tell you that is not learning. Learning comes in many different forms and many different ways. That is one kind of learning. Another kind of learning is discussion. You know, we're so eager to speak all the time as teachers. I always say that, you know, I have kids hostage. They can't leave my classroom. They're really my prisoners for the hour that they're with me, you know, and I love to speak, so I'm happy. I don't know about them. But, you know, what if you had a discussion? What if you said to them, I would like you to read this. It's If the Prophet Visited You. It's a poem. How many of you have read that poem? MashaAllah. Right? If the Prophet visited you, peace be upon him, I wonder, would you, just for a day or two, if he came unexpectedly, I wonder what you'd do? Oh, I know you'd give your nicest room to such an honored guest, and you would serve him your very best. You would be the very best because you're glad to have him there, that serving him in your home would be without a joy without compare. And then it goes on to say all the things you would do for him. And then it say, but it might be interesting to know the things that you would do if the Prophet came to spend some time with you. But would you have him glad to meet your very closest friends? Or would you hope they'd stay away until his visit ends? Would you be glad to have him stay forever, on and on? Or would you sigh with great relief when at last he was gone? Because you'd have to be a different person when he was there. So I have my students read this, and I say, next week it's your week to discuss this. Okay? I want you to read this, and then I want you to highlight or put out important points that you think this poem is telling us. Okay? And then next week it's a discussion. And then that's what we do for 40 minutes. We just discuss. We put our desks in a circle, and this might be great for 3rd, 4th, 5th, up to high school level kids. We have a discussion. I had several students say to me, yeah, I know I have to change the way I live, and you know, I would be embarrassed if he stayed, and so I'm not doing all the right things that I should be doing. Then I had one student say to me, well, that's not fair, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us all these things. I mean, he gave me the PSP, and my mom and dad bought it for me, and now I'm supposed to hide it when the Prophet comes? I was like, wow, he's right. He's right.
What is PSP?
PlayStation games, like video games, right? And so, yeah, what's PSP? PlayStation games. You know what your kids are playing under the dinner table when you're not looking? But yeah, kids are thinking a different way. We're thinking, you know, oh, we should be better. And they're thinking, yeah, but you gave me all of this and now you're telling me I can't use it. Then I realized to teach them not to use it, but to know when the right time to use it is and when the wrong time to use it is. To give them the cell phone, but help them understand the limits of the correct usages of that cell phone and the incorrect usages of that cell phone. To say our kids can't have a cell phone is living at a time that really doesn't exist right now. So we as adults have to move with the times and teach our children how to use it. But kids bring that up in discussion, amazing things in discussion. So then the discussion moved from, I don't feel sorry about what I'm doing, but how can I modify my behavior so there's a balance between what I'm doing that the prophet would love and what I'm doing that the prophet would say, I understand you're a kid of your times. And the prophet was very merciful. I bet he would have said, I understand you're a kid of your times, but here are some guidelines on how to use the PlayStation game or the cell phone or the times that you are with your friends. And so I think what we try to do is we try to be the ones who talk, but the discussion is really, really, really important. Art. I mean, anyone who says they can't use art for our culture, really, again, I mean, Muslim art was the greatest art of the world. What are we going to do? Hide it all? Put it away? This was Turkish Islamic art. You can put it up if you're teaching Islamic history and say, what can you learn about this culture from this painting? I could give you a 20-minute lecture on the Ottoman Empire, or you could just look at this painting and gain a great deal of information from the Ottoman Empire. Do you see, the horses, the ornateness of the clothing that they wore, the beauty of the architecture of the buildings, the fact that there is artwork like this at a time when in Europe, what were they wearing? Burlap sacks? So by art, you're teaching them to understand the history of Islam versus explaining it to them or expecting them to read a chapter. Now, I don't say don't do that. Start with the art. We call it the hook, right? You hook. You hook them in with the art, then they're interested. Then they ask questions. And you say, would you like to learn more? And they say, yes. Then you say, I've got a page for you to read. And then you can give them the short packet or the information. If it's long and there's students, by this time there's special needs students or students who are not good readers, you just highlight certain areas, because I'm reading it before they read it, right? So as I'm reading it the day before, the week before, I highlight the parts I think are important. Then to those students, you give just your notes with the highlighted parts. Other students can read the whole packet. Maybe 3 or 4 students are reading your highlighted parts because they don't understand all of it. And then you have everybody coming the next week to share what they learned. Okay, so again, using art. What do we have? Posters on Islam for non-Muslims. You can have them create things. You can target prophets and then ask them to do groups where you're only learning one prophet, but then in 2 weeks you meet and you teach your prophet to 5 other kids who learned 4 other prophets. And then you're teaching each other. And then you can give them the template. What I want you to tell me is 3 points in their life that were important. 4 lessons we learn from that prophet. And if you give them a very simple template, depending on their age level, simpler for the early ages, more elaborate for the older ages, then what you can do is then you come together and they're teaching each other. And if there's certain students that aren't going to do their work, call home and confirm that they've done it. If